thanks for joining us on another webinar today where we're going to be looking at Snom and 3CX. We're talking everything Snom and 3CX. We're going to look at what's new and what's next. So a bit of a section on Snom and then 3CX, of course, with some changes. On the webinar today, there's myself, Jason Pryke. I'm the Senior Technical Sales Executive here at ProView. Been here for closing in on 7 years now. And of course, I'm joined by Stephen Try from Snom. Steve, how are you doing today?
Very good, mate. Nice to be here. Yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm, like Jason said, channel manager for Snom in the UK and Ireland. Coming up to 4 years at Snom now. And prior to that, I'd spent 20 odd years working in direct sales. So I know what it's like to be at the sharp end with customers.
Perfect. So in terms of the agenda today then, so we're going to have a bit of a Snom overview. We're going to take a look at this new Snom desk phones, the multi-cell range, hospitality range, so a bit of an overview to refresh everyone's memory, but also talk about the newer products. We're then going to have a section on 3CX, so what are the updates, what's the latest changes, and what's on the roadmap essentially from 3CX as well. As always, there'll be a Q&A section at the end, but feel free to get your questions in as the webinar progresses. We'll take a look at those, either at the end or we might, stop and take a look at those as they come in. To get them in, you should have a little screen or a little section that says questions on the right-hand side of your screen. So I'm going to pass over to Steve now. He's going to take us through the section on Snom.
Thank you very much, Jason. Yeah, any questions, I'll keep my eye out for them, but like Jason says, we can cover them off at the end, and if I don't know the answer, then I know a person that will. Let me just, there we go. It's taking a bit of time. I'm not seeing anything on my screen on that one.
Can you press again? It's not sure for me either now.
Ah, it seems to be animated, which it wasn't earlier. So yeah, two rules for me really. I can't answer any questions on pricing. It's one of the biggest frustrations for me at Snom. I spent years being able to answer these sorts of things, but anything pricing wise, you'll all have access to Protus, I would imagine, so you can get that from Jason if not. And anything too technical, we've got a full technical team sort of behind me, so we have people that deal specifically with interop for 3CX, for instance. So if you've got anything specific on that one, either speak to ProView, or if you speak to us directly, then manage it that way. But I'll do what I can. I just basically don't want to get anything wrong. So for those of you that don't know Snom, we're a European business headquartered in Berlin. We've always been German. All of our data and provisioning is all done in the EU, which is something that for some customers is becoming more and more relevant. So our provisioning server, for instance, is all in the EU, and all of our R&D is done in Berlin. So yeah, we can say that we are a European manufacturer. We actually developed the first commercially available SIP phone, so 26 years ago now, I think it was. We brought the first phone to market, and that was the device that a lot of the early platforms used for their testing. And ProView were, I think, one of our first distributors in Europe. So device-wise, we have desk phones. Obviously, that's where our business started. Decked. We have accessories, things like headsets, conference phones, but the most recent sort of range that we brought out was the hospitality, and that is something that has become more and more a pillar of our business going forward. And with the certification of the first devices with 3CX, this is something that we're getting a lot of interest from 3CX partners on, because a lot of them have sold the VTech, but the risk was they weren't certified with the actual platform itself. So any question, any tickets, they just kick them back to you. One of the unique things that we do on the desk phones is we can brand these for a very low MOQ. I've got a slide on it later, but it is not a case of just printing on the phone or putting stickers on it. We have glass plates on the handsets that we print specifically with either your logo or the end user's logo. We differ from a lot of our competitors in that although we're manufactured in China, we can also manufacture in Malaysia, and we're bought in euros, not dollars. I've been here, like I say, nearly 4 years. I've not seen a price change on the actual sort of standard price list. Certainly nothing's gone up, a few things have come down, but stability is something that we seem to get with it being euros rather than dollars, especially at the moment. So in the UK, there's myself. I usually have a second person working with me in the UK. I have a new person starting on the 1st of September, and Ed is tasked with working with resellers. So we try to be as hands-on as you like. So we can attend, webinars, we can attend meetings. We will come to you with, a boot full of fun so you can actually see these devices. And rather than having sort of people that come across from China or the States or relying too much on our distributors, we tend to do that as much as we can face to face, because every country is different. So having people in country is a big thing for us. And we have dedicated technical support. So if any of you have ever raised a ticket, you've probably spoken to Jan Maria. He attends a lot of events in the UK with us. Although he's based in Italy, he lived in London for many years and just moved back at the beginning of the pandemic and lives the life of Riley on his London salary in Bologna. But anything technical tends to go through him first. So as I mentioned, the first device, so that's the Snom 100 on the left-hand side there, and one of the most recent handsets on the right. My presentations, I tend to go big on the pictures and try to leave the text as minimal as possible. You can't avoid it, but yeah, it shows how far the the IP endpoint has come over the last 20 odd years. So over the last 3 or 4 years, we talked about and then released the 8 series devices. So these and everything that we'll show you predominantly is already certified with 3CX, but the 8 series are the flagship devices. So you really appreciate the quality of these devices when you sort of pick them up and handle them. But the 862 and the 865, these are both router phones with 3CX. The 865's got Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and they'll both support the DHC expansion unit. So where you're upgrading old PBXs, for instance, and they still like lots of names on buttons, you can still offer them sort of sidecar units to replicate what they've got on sort of old PBXs if people don't want to use soft phones. The 865 has got Wi-Fi on it, so if you're needing to deploy where cabling is limited, you can use the inbuilt Wi-Fi on there. And like I said, both of these devices are certified as router phones with 3CX. On the subject of sort of router phones, we were asked a couple of years ago by a bank in Switzerland to develop a device that would help them with their deployments on Citrix, and the solution for that was the SP800, which is essentially a D862 desk phone, but all you have is the guts and the firmware of it in a little box. But as a result of it being an 862, it also means it can act as an SBC. So I pitch it as an alternative to a Raspberry Pi. So you get the sort of the Snom quality, build. You get the connections on there. You get the warranty from us. And if you don't want to dedicate a desk phone, it then gives you an option of something that you can then put in the comms cabinet. And you have the last point on there. Yes, you can register non-Snom devices, but I would always prefer it if you did. And we currently have a promotion running on the SP800 until the end of September. In addition, ProView will promote this sort of regularly, but we have everything on the Snom price list. We also offer NFR pricing. So if any of you want to try the SP800, we do offer NFR pricing that Jason can confirm for you. But that as a device with 3CX is, like I say, a great alternative to the Raspberry Pi. It does an awful lot more, but because 3CX already have their own soft phone, there's sort of functionality that we're not going to be sort of interop testing with them. So if you try to use it as a soft phone and register to it, you won't have things like DTMF tone, which is kind of important. So for 3CX customers, it's an SBC pretty much solely. We've now released the 812 and the 815. Same form factor and styling as the 865 and the 862, but these come in at a better price point for people that are looking at a budget device. The only compromise on them is that these two devices don't have a tiltable screen. So the 862 and the 865, they've got a hinge on them. These are a solid molding. Other than that, they are pretty much, identical to the 865 and the 862. The 815 again is Wi-Fi, and the 812 can be Wi-Fi. You just need to add the adapter, and again, you can add the sidecars to these devices as well. And all of these devices are, like I said before, brandable. So where you see Snom on that glass plate there, we can get this printed with sort of your customer's logo or your logo, and it's a very sort of tidy way of doing it. Shortly, we'll be releasing the 810, which will then be the entry level in the 8 series. Now, firmware-wise, the previous two handsets and the 810 are all using the D7 series firmware, which, if you've used Snom historically, is a version of firmware that a lot of you are already familiar with. This device will come in a couple of variations, one of them that will have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in. So again, you'll then have an entry-level device in the 8 series that you can deploy without having to use Ethernet cabling, which for a lot of people, when they're doing sort of dropship installs, is essential. So testing on this is now complete. We then will just need to wait for 3CX to certify the actual device, and these things very much depend on when their releases are due. But it's a priority for them to complement it. The only thing to remember on these phones, because it's the D7 series firmware at the minute, these aren't router phones. So the 810, 12, and 15 are not router phones. You need to use the 8.6 phones for that. And that's the sidecar module. So up to 3 can be added to the 862 and the 865. Really easy to program, really easy to connect. If any of you used our old D7 phones, they were, put it mildly, a faff to connect to the D7 series phones. These literally slot in, power up straight away, dead easy to use. And like I say, they all match the 8 series and can be used across the range. The only sort of compromise at the moment is on the first hardware release. We can only add one to the 8 series, but that will soon pass. And then entry level, I've mentioned the D7 series. Everybody wants an entry level handset. Everybody has a customer that's not interested in any functionality. They just want the cheapest device that you can offer them. We have the D140 and the D150. Same styling as the rest of the 7 series range. It's just a grayscale screen, but the actual screen itself is the same screen as we have on the rest of that range. So it's a really high resolution. It doesn't look like an old 1980s calculator like some devices. And what you see there are just a selection of them. They are, again, brandable, with the exception of the very entry level 140, 150 that you can see on there. And for an entry level handset, the average lifespan of a Snom phone is 10 years, which is great for your customers and terrible if you're the manufacturer, because your churn rate of handsets isn't as great as it might be with other people. But what you are buying is a quality device, and that doesn't matter whether it's the premium end or the entry level. Mentioned before the branding. The basic branding is what you see there, where we just sort of we have the blank plates that we then just print for you, and we have an MOQ of 50 units. So all we need is a PO for 50, and it's FOC. It's free of charge for you to do that. So whether, like I say, it's for your end user or for yourself because you want to, white label what you're doing. And if you're interested to see what devices will look like, I just need a vector copy of your logo, and we can do some mock-ups that I can email to you just to see how it will look. And from a commercial point of view, when you're up against somebody else that's quoting another manufacturer, if you can then say, well, for the same price I can put your logo on there, you can be pretty sure that whoever you're quoting against isn't going to be able to do that. So it will give you something in the armory that other people don't have. The people that are buying in the thousands, we can customize the actual device itself. So in some countries, we've actually changed the keyboard layout. We've changed the actual keys on there. So instead of it being the voicemail key, it's something else. And at that point, some people have even bought their own colorway, so we can actually manufacture in a specific color. So it's, because we're owned by VTech, we have all of our own manufacturing facilities, so we can be very sort of flexible with what we do with our devices, whether that's the packaging, the color, inserts that actually come out. You get your own part code essentially, and for some people we even OEM handsets depending on volume. So we can even use your own MAC address that you give us. So yeah, any inquiries like that, just contact Jason and team at ProView, and we can, like I say, get some mock-ups done for you. So half of what we sell these days across Europe is multi-cell, and it's something that we are known sort of across Europe for. Like I say, in the UK, it's probably 45% of what we do. It's slightly less than the average, but we have everything from entry level through to the handset that you see on the right hand side there, the M90, which is used almost exclusively in healthcare. So you can wash that down with detergent in order to thoroughly clean it. We have options for man down functionality. So the M80, it's got the alarm on there. It's got man down functionality. We can combine that with alarm servers. And the A190 handset there is a DECT extension. So that isn't Bluetooth, that isn't Wi-Fi. That registers to the multi-cell network and allows you to roam. So it's the sort of thing that you see in sort of Tesco's and whatever when people are wandering around. And it's a great solution where people, I don't know if you've sold these solutions in the past, you sell a multi-cell and then somebody says they want a headset, and you end up, back in the day, wiring a headset from the handset in their pocket up through overalls and into their ear. With this, both hands free, and it's a great destination for a phone call. You can make outbound calls on it, but it comes from a list of pre-programmed numbers. But if you're wanting to get hold of somebody quickly, either on the shop floor or in retail, wandering around greenhouses, in those environments, then it's a great way of just sort of getting calls out to groups. Does push to talk. It's something that we don't sell enough of in the UK because it is a very competitive alternative to an actual handset. These all connect back to the M900 and the M400 base stations. We have an alternative if you've got people that are looking for outdoor coverage. So we do have an outdoor option, and this is the benefits of DECT, but I'm sure that most of you are aware of them anyway. But you can network, you can network in the thousands of those M900 base stations. So the largest installation that Snom have done was actually a pig farm in the UK, and we have sort of hundreds of these things across a network of pig farms. So, like I said, we have all the options, whether it's entry level, whether it's through to you know, the IP certified devices, and we now have, to complement that, a deck survey kit. So we did them a few years ago, but we now have a purpose-built survey kit. So that comes with the telescopic tripod, a base station, 2 handsets, a massive PSU so that you can be flexible when it comes to the survey. You're not relying on local power, because, you know, if it's a greenfield site, if it's a new installation, you might not have power in there yet. It all comes with its own custom fitted trolley, so it's easy to get around, and that's something that I think it was last month we released it. So if you need pricing on that, if you haven't seen it, then get in touch with Jason. We've got all of the images, and again, you know, if that's something that that you're interested in, it's available with, you know, the NFR pricing as well. Something that we were asked about probably 18 months ago was multiple charging stations, because where you've got, you know, a lot of deck users, if they're all working from one particular office, it can be difficult when it comes to charging multiple devices and finding enough plugs to fit all the, you know, to plug all the cradles into. So this is a deck charging unit. You've got 2 components. You've got the base, and then you've got the slot-ins for the devices that you're using. So you can mix and match. If you've got customers that are using some entry level, and then they've got some sort of like the M70s, you can change the slots. And sat behind the insert there is another gap that will actually charge a battery as well as the handset. So where you've got really heavy users, you can be charging a spare battery whilst you're charging the main unit. And again, this was released last month. If you want any more information, I've got a couple of links at the end of the presentation that you can make a note of. But what we'll also do is send out an email following the webinar with these links on them. So hospitality phones, if any of you have sold into hospitality, you'll know the mishmash of cabling and requirements and the unique nature of hoteliers, but for certain places they still require phones in the rooms, and for a lot of people, how they look is still important. You know, for some people they'll just stick an analog phone in, and that's all they need, just to tick a box. But for some people, it does, you know, it's required to fit in with the aesthetics, and it's something that, you know, looks nice but will probably be the least used phone that we sell. They will gather dust but still look good. The first ones we released were the 350s and the 351s. These are the ones that we've sold most of in the UK so far. And like I said, these are stylish looking phones. They are, you might recognize them, the VTech range. Essentially, they gave us the access to the range of handsets, because we sell in a different way to VTech. We have, you know, thousands of channel partners throughout Europe, and it's access to those resellers that VTech didn't have. So by taking some of the range, offering them from Snom, it's opened up VTech's market massively. Provisioning of these devices can be done, it's up to you, via our provisioning server. So everything can be done via SRAPs. The labeling of the devices, so you can see a couple of options there, is done by ProView. So this differs to what we do with our desk phones. This is a specific type of labeling that we do for the hospitality phones, but that is all taken care of in the UK by ProView. All they need is the artwork and some some time to consult with you and your end user with how you want these things set up, and those labels can be ready for when the phones ship. Obviously, like I mentioned, there's a vast difference in infrastructure in hotels, whether it's, you know, no cabling, some cabling, all singing, all dancing, Wi-Fi. You have to have a solution for them. So you have Wi-Fi options as well as Ethernet. So where you don't have any cabling, so long as you've got Wi-Fi network, you can deploy the Snom hospitality phones. And much to my surprise, considering that on our boxes it says first in VoIP, last year we released the analog variations of a lot of the range, because 50% of devices that are deployed in hotels are still analog. People don't want to rip out old cabling if they don't have to. So if we didn't offer the analog versions, we were losing out on sort of half the opportunities. So we didn't make a big song and dance out of it, but a lot of these devices now you can get as analog. So the next few slides are just some examples. So the HM201 there, really nice handset. That one's certified on 3CX at the moment. The HD300 will be probably our biggest selling device across Europe. It follows the same styling as the rest of the hospitality devices. The HD351 there, again, it's one of the devices that's currently certified. The HD300 that I showed you before, like I said, it's a really slimline device, but we had some people that were asking for a lobby phone. So essentially we took the HD300, used a different plate on it, and just covered a lot of the devices. So where you want a phone in a public area, so like I said, a lobby, they used Child to Goal Airport, have put them in on all of the concourses. It's just a device that will then just ring, preset destination. The HM331, it's a very, very nice phone that comes in cheaper than the 201. The base station is part of the charging cradle there, so it's a really sleek solution. And then the HD3 is a additional handset. So if you were deploying, the HM331 and it was in a suite, you could then put the HD3 in the bedroom. That could be in the lounge area. We've got, bizarrely, people want phones in bathrooms. Never seen them myself. I don't have the budget to stay in them, but apparently some hotels have phones in every room. So just an example of the branding. So that's the 350 there that you can see on the left, and the different options, different colorways. And then on the entry-level handsets, there's actually an insert on the stand, so that you can still get branding on there. And then the HM201, you can actually brand the screen, and so it's the only device in the range that actually has a screen on them. And at the beginning of this year, we started selling the plates that will go on the handsets. So if you've got a customer that wants, I think it's silver, pearl, the grey and black. So these are a separate device, a separate part code, and they're just interchangeable. So if you've got customers that like the phone but want it in pearl, you just need to order some pearl covers for them, and we can then, so that you can then add them when you're deploying them. But it gives you a full sort of range of handsets that are then certified with 3CX. There was, I know sort of VTech quite well in the UK and their distributors historically, and they tried for years to get VTech certified, and 3CX were just not interested in adding another vendor to their list of certified handset providers. As soon as we brought the VTech handsets to Snom, we started testing, but it just gives you the assurance that should there ever be an issue, you can then raise tickets and it will be investigated. And that's me for now, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It was nice and informative. There's a lot of content there, so that's good. So yeah, we'll take a look at 3CX. We're going to really look at what's new in a roadmap. Don't want to keep, because I know a lot of you guys are already 3CX partners that we've got on the webinar today. If you've not used 3CX before, come speak to me. More than happy to get a demo arranged, show you it in a bit more depth, so you can actually see the features and functionality. But I suppose in terms of what's new, And these are quite recent changes as well here. These are, we don't want to keep talking about the same stuff, but quite a nice little addition, quality of life feature is with the new update 7, version 20, users can now essentially block WhatsApp and external numbers from their chats. So of course you could block numbers before this and add them to a blacklist, but this just makes things a lot simpler, and especially the WhatsApp side of things, so people can't spam you with different messages and things like that, and they're really taking up a lot of the processing power and just being annoying. But you can also do it from a call history, so block numbers are going to show up in the CID blacklist as the external numbers did before. So from the chats, you can right click a chat in the menu in the chat header and select block number, and then you can confirm it. It's the same for your recent calls. So yeah, right click a call entry, select block, and you can confirm it. So nice little improvement there, little quality of life change. So we've also got transcript snippets. So this is a really nice little feature that's available in the Windows app. So again, version 20 update 7, you've got voicemails and recordings. They're going to display within the, they're going to display a little transcription snippet. So as we can see on the right here, we're going to call history. We can get a bit of a snippet and then go to the full transcription. Yeah, so this is voicemails, recordings, and then of course, click the transcription icon to see it in full. So we've got a new role. So we've got the new supervisor role. So the idea with this role is it can let supervisors view reports and manage their department in terms of the call handling without the need to give them more admin rights. Whereas if you give them a manager role, let's say, they've got quite a lot of options for access to the admin portal, which not everyone wants to give. That might be for the internal IT team or the external IT team. So this just helps with the further allowing a little bit more depth of the admin rights. You can see a full list of roles. So you've got all these different roles here. So we've got user, receptionist, owner, system admin. So there are key differences between all of them and different access levels at each one. There will always be a system owner that's got access to everything. But of course, you can see that on the website as well. So we've also got the system watcher, which is very new. So this is currently in beta. So the system watcher essentially allows for a lot more alerts to be created, either system alerts or 3CX alerts, which we'll look at in a second. But yes, things like CPU usage, disk usage. So if you exceed a certain amount, you can get an email through to an admin or a system owner. So this, again, more for a bit of a boring feature really, but it is really useful for the IT admins just to make sure the system's functioning correctly, and for your partners as well, to make sure that your customers are having a good experience with the system they're using. So we've got the 3CX alerts here. So you got like trunk error codes, calls and messages made to block countries, new user extension added. So yeah, a lot of different options here. And then on the right, we can see where we can add notifications. So we can send email to system owners, or we can add our own custom email there. Of course, we've got contact at the moment, but this could be any email of your choosing. So what's on the roadmap? Well, there's a big focus on AI development, as with a lot of different platforms out there. AI is taking center stage currently, and I think it will continue to do that for many years. We've got the 3CX Watcher, which we've just spoken about. Now available in beta. We've got live chat AI integration for instant responses that's coming. So you're going to have a lot more options, to preset messages, and eventually have an AI chatbot that can go back and forth with that user from your website, which is a really nice little improvement. We've got improved security and hacking detection coming. Of course, again, quite a boring one, but it's definitely critical, the security and hack prevention is the best it can be. So in terms of the AI-powered post-call analytics, we've got things like agent effectiveness, which is going to evaluate an operators or users' empathy and their performance on the call. And the idea with these call analytics is really so, especially if there's quite a large team of agents, maybe in a call center, for example, just being able to look at reports and just get at a glance what you might need to follow up on. So if you've got a particular user with lower scores, you can listen back to those recordings, just see what happened and where improvements can be made, essentially. We've got content analysis, so breakdown of the Q&As, suggested follow-ups, what products were talked about, what companies talked about. So you don't have to go back in the recording, just remember who you spoke with, what company they were from. Maybe they give a number. So being able to grab that information and just have it at a glance is really, really powerful. Got call analysis, so classification of call type, what the participants were, and then urgency ratings. So again, you can act on those calls that are a bit more urgent than there might be for some other ones. So if a system's gone down, someone's calling about their system's gone down, it's obviously going to be quite an urgent call and needs to be dealt with quickly. And then suggested follow-ups, so actionable recommendations on the next steps of that call, which again it's just a really, really nice tool for the users and agents to get that just generated for them. Of course, there are a lot of different features on the way. I don't necessarily have dates on when these will be implemented, but I know the post-call analytics is something that's currently in development, and that should be within the next couple of months, which is really nice. You can update to the beta version as well within your test systems, or if you've got proof of concept, you can give those a bit of a test in beta, get access to the latest features. Appreciate you might not want to do that in a live system, but the option is always there in the beta, so you can get access to the latest updates as soon as they're available. And that's it really from the 3CX section. Nice and sweet. As I said, if if you want to look at 3CX in a bit more depth, come speak to me. Of course, we'll do demos, and we'll even do demos with your end customers as well if you want us to show the system and help you out with where we can. So we've just got a little bit of further information here. As we mentioned, we'll get these sent to you guys after, but we've got access to the Snom partner portal. So you can log in here if you've already got an account. If not, you can get one created, and this is where you can get access to the provisioning portal. We've got a wiki page, marketing resources, which are always handy if you need pictures and things like that to add to your websites. And then we've got, of course, Process portal. If you don't have access to Process, again, come speak to us. We'll get you access, or we'll happily do a demo as well. I thought I'll just put the 3CX community here as well. So this is a link to the forums, which is always useful. So if you have any ever have any issues or questions that are a bit more bespoke, it's probably a good place to start. So thanks for watching, everyone. We'll take a look at the Q&A section then. Something else to note, we've got when you buy your 3CX, you do get additional discount on hardware for Snom devices. So nice little incentive there for both sides, really. So come speak to us about that as well if you've got a project, and we'll get a quote together for you.
Can I just add, Jason?
Yeah.
With the partner portal, if you're not already a partner, if you register on there, once it's approved, and it's not a laborious process, it's just me that approves it, you can log back in and request a free test device. So there's a drop-down menu that you can then select a device, and we'll ship that out to you. But equally, if you've got a requirement to test something, a little quicker, because these get shipped out from Berlin. If ever you need a device, and it's time sensitive, then just speak to ProView, and I can authorize like CEDA units and things to be sent out for you if you've got an opportunity where customers want to try them. And one of the things that we get asked, especially on projects, is things like price support. We don't have a laborious process when it comes to getting price support approved. You can contact either me directly, or you can go via ProView and just outline the project, who you're up against, what sort of price point you need to be at to win it, and then I'll work with Jason to get discount approved, and I get approval generally within a couple of hours, so we can move, you know, very quickly on it. So any projects where, you know, because we have this, because we're German, people think that we're expensive. It's not the reality of it, but you know, if you don't ask, you don't get. And yeah, with the right information, I very rarely do I get any questions when it comes to requesting price support. So, you know, don't let pricing sort of put you off. Get in touch, and I'll see what we can do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I don't think we've got any questions at the moment.
That's the sign of
for a couple of
the
minutes.
presentation, Jason.
It it is. It
Or everyone's shy.
it just takes one person, doesn't it? And then you have a flurry of them.
No, I don't think anyone's going to flurry.
No, I don't think so. But as always, there's you know, if anyone does have a question after, just something comes to mind, you know, reach out to myself or Steve as well, and we'll more than happy to answer any questions you've got, or get an answer for you if we don't know it.
Yeah.
So I think we'll end it there then. So I appreciate everyone stopping by and listening to us. So hopefully that was useful. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Steve.
Bye-bye.
See you later.